Welcome back. This is lecture number 3, and we are going to backtrack just a little bit and talk about the administrator. The administrator of a system, and because we're working with microprocessors and single board computers, you are the administrator. You have access to the root account. That's the username for the system administrator. And there is one rule for the root account. There are no rules. If you type in a command, you can type in any command, and when you hit return, the system is going to determine what command you want to run and send it to the scheduler. It gets access to the hardware, goes into a processor, one of the CPUs, starts executing, and if the command is to remove everything from the file system, that's what it's going to try. But I can tell you it won't finish. So for this reason, you should keep the micro SD card safe and secure. It's your backup. Put it in an envelope. Hide the envelope. Mark on it, do not destroy, do not touch, do not steal, all the above. So let's talk about root. As a regular user, okay, you do not have access to the entire system. The system is divided up into areas, and you have certain permissions to play in certain areas, and you are off limits to other areas. Treat it like a schoolyard. The schoolyard is the entire system. All the commands, all the user areas, etc. Because the system is designed for multiple users, and you are only one of 2 right now. There's root, and then there's you. In this case, orange pie. You are given a sandbox to play in. Let me expand this to full screen because this is going to output a lot of information. To find out who you are, there's a command called ID, your identification. Hit return, and it says, okay, user ID, UID equal 1000. When your account was created, okay, in the distribution, you were given a user number of 1000. Anytime we add a user, the last user ID is incremented by 1, and that's assigned to the new user. The next identifier is a GID, group ID. So you belong to a group, and you think of it as being a department. You're either in engineering, you're in research, you're in home resources, etc. You're in the cafeteria staff. You have your own group where it says groups equal 1000 right here. You have your own group. So you're your own little entity, and what happens is people within a group can share information. So this is your BFF group. Then there's a whole bunch of other stuff here that allows you access to dial out. In the old days when we had modems, you could dial out. The important one is the sudo group, and you can only execute the command substitute user do if you're in that group. If you're not in that group, then you can't do things as administrator. So whoever owns the system doesn't trust you. You have access to the audio, video, and all this other stuff. You can do Bluetooth, etc. All right. Let me do this. Let me do an SU for substitute user with no arguments. Now what this is going to do is this is going to let you become root. You need to input the password. It's Orange Pie. Now, I told you that the command line interpreter, the shell, has the ability to change the prompt. And here, the prompt is changed to show me the complete path to the directory I'm in, and the prompt character is changed to the pound sign. Also, I guess in modern lingo, it's called the hashtag. And the real English name for it is, can you tell me? Octothorpe. And octo means 8, and I think it's because it's got 8 points on it. And there's one other way I want you to consider this. Consider it as jail bars. Okay? You're going to wind up in jail if you mess things up in this universe on this computer. So I'm going to show you this, but I'm not going to do it because, well, maybe I shouldn't show you, but I will. CD to /. That's the root directory. Remember in the display file things, we had a root. All right. And this is at the top level directory in the file system, okay, of the 921 gigabytes that I have access to. If I do a list, this shows me that there's a bin directory, a boot, which has, well, let's look at, do an ls boot, and this has stuff for initializing the system and starting up the kernel, etc. And you don't want to mess with it. The home directory is for all the users. If I do an ls home, there's only one, quote, regular user, and that's Orange Pie. That's me. If I cd to home, cd to Orange Pie, you can see there's all my stuff. Okay, if I do an ls -l, I'll do the human readable size. You can see that every directory here, C programming, desktop, everything, is owned by Orange Pie, and the file is accessible by the group Orange Pie. And then there's the permissions over here, and we need to, well, I'm going to let you read the Linux book somewhere. Go to archive.org and start reading. I ask you to read the shell book because it'll help you understand what I'm doing here. Now, if I do a CD with no argument, it goes back to the home directory of the user. Now, in this case, it's root. That's the home directory for the administrator. Now, the reason if I do the ID, okay, let me clear this. Let me reduce the size. Oh, when I went full screen, note that the size here, is 211 characters across and 50 lines. Let me reduce this back to the center stage here. Now, I'm going to do ID here, and it shows me that I am root. My group ID is root, and the only groups I belong to is root. And as root, that's all I need. I can go anywhere into any directory and do anything I want. So this is dangerous. So you should not be logged in as root for any period of time, because if you forget and you say remove something, it's gone. One of the problems that, well, people consider it a problem, if you remove something, it's gone. There's no restore. There's ways to try it, but there's no guarantees that you have any success. So it doesn't go to a trash barrel, it doesn't go to a trash bin, Nope, it's gone. It's removed. The disk space becomes immediately available to any process that wants it. So, I mentioned in the last video that we could rename you. Now that I think about it, let's not do that. Let's create you an account. So I'm logged in here as root. So I can create a new user by executing the command add user. Very original. And the name you want to log in as. So I'm going to use Adams. The Unix and early Unix and Unix in general, the default was that system administrators, when they added new users, used only your last name and in lowercase. If I got two Adamses, like I have a Chuck Adams and a Robert Adams or Phil or Susie or whatever, then we can add an initial. So I'm going to add a user Adams. And it says adding Adams, and I'm adding a new group, okay? And my user ID is going to be 1001. It creates you a home directory in /home, and it copies files from the skeleton directory, which has a template and all the files that you need as a new user, and it copies them. Now, we're going to add a new password, and this is the password that you give Adams. As administrator, you got a newbie, somebody that just got hired. They just graduated from MIT, and you're going to give them access to the computer because they're going to work on a whatever project, and they need a computer. This is back in the mainframe days. Nowadays, you just give them an Orange Pi 5 Plus and set it up for them and turn them loose. So give them a new password. Don't make it, ask them if they have a particular password, and you tell them it doesn't matter whether you tell me your password or you want to type it in. Here's the keyboard, you type it in. As root, I can get into your stuff, so, don't put anything in there. Don't download anything you don't want me to see. So give them a new password. Type it again. Make sure we don't have any extra critters. Okay, so now they got a new password. Now I'm going to put some information about them into the system. What's your name? What's your office number? Well, I don't have office numbers. What's your work phone? What's your home phone or cell phone number? And other. And this is just some information. Look here, I'll put CEO and Chief Financial Officer of Chuck Adams Research, Technology, and Software, Inc. Is this information correct? So you read it all, make sure everything's correct. A little inside information here. Is the information correct? You either put Y or N. N, if it's not correct, then it'll restart and allow you to correct things. Type a Y if it's correct, but note that within the brackets here, Y precedes N. If you don't have to type Y, just hit return. The default answer is yes. So now we are a new user. The new user is added to the password file that's in /etc. Remember my cat command? I'm going to output the password file. And you'll note that Adams has been added as the last line here. X is the password. password is not stored in the password file. It's shadowed somewhere else to prevent some security breaches. Assign user ID number 1001, group ID 1001. There's Chuck Adams, and here's my information, and there's my home directory, and my startup shell is bash, born again shell. If I cd to /home and do an ls, there are now two directories there. One for Orange Pi, which you've been using, and Adams, my new one. And if I look at what Adams has, ls Adams, there's nothing in there. Uh-oh. This is a bug. Or I did something wrong. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna file a bug report because let's see if I left something out. Man, add user. Add a user or group to the system. System option, directory, add group. Okay. Add user, add group to the system according to command line. Add a normal user. Call with one non-option without the system or group option. Add user will add a normal user. The next UID. Okay, given a group name, add user will create a home directory set. Okay, the home directory can be overwritten. Okay, add user will copy files from scale into the home directory and prompt. Okay. G-codes will set with a P with it. Let's see here. I shouldn't be doing this on your time. I'll come back and correct it. There's a simple way to fix it, and that is, since I want all this stuff in my new account, because I did some stuff in C programming, like I created a test program. So let's do the following. Let's do a CP -R, which says copy the files and directories, and -R says do it recursively. If there's a directory, copy everything that's inside it, and inside any directories below that, etc. So CP -R asterisk that says let's copy all the directories into the home directory of Adams. And it does that. So let's go up one and cd into Adams, and now I have all these files. There's probably a thing here. Let's do an ls -ld. I want to list the directories but nothing inside them. List them all, and it shows me that since I copied everything from Orange Pi as root, when I create all the directories, I did it as root, so it assigns ownership to root, and it assigns group to root. And this means if I log in as Adams, I'm not going to be able to get into these because I'm not going to be able to modify anything. Actually, it turns out I can access them, but I can't do anything. So there's a new command, change owner, which allows me to change the ownership of all these directories and everything. I'm going to do it recursively. Now I have to say, okay, who do you want to give it to? Adams. What group? So you do a dot and then you do Adams again. That means that the ownership and the group will both be Adams, and I want to do it for all of them. Okay. Every once in a while there's a difference in uppercase and lowercase on some of the parameters or flags. So let's do this. Ta-da. Let's do the ls minus ld star again. And now everything's owned by atoms, and I'm in the group atoms. And if I cd to C and do an ls minus LH there, ta-da, I own those two. So I have access to everything. Oh, there's one other thing. There's always something. Let me see. Let's go back into Orange Pi. Wait. Oh, I got to go back up. CD to Orange Pi. Go into the home directory of Orange Pi. You see all these directories? That's not all of them. There's some more. If I do an ls minus A, it says list all directories or all files. And there are some hidden files. Any file that starts with a dot, or any directory that starts with a dot, is not listed without the all flag. So let's see. What do I want to copy? Let's see here. What do I need? I don't need any of them. I'm going to create, well, let's see here. Let's vi.bash rc. This is a run command. Anytime you open a window, this file gets run. And this is, don't do anything. Does it, yep, I need it. So let's copy .bash rc up one and into atoms. That'll do it. So let me reiterate. Copy, I did a copy, recursive, everything. And since I did this as root, if I go back into the home directory for atoms, doing all, there's a ls minus L .bash rc. It should be owned by root. No. It's a miracle. For some reason. Oh. Okay. There's an inconsistency there, but okay. I've got atoms set up. Let me get out of here and let me go back to being Orange Pi so that we don't mess anything up. Now, you got a new user. So I can go back up here to the Orange Pi little tab here, and I can do a logout. Now, if I do a logout, everything's going to be terminated that I'm running, and a new screen pops up in the left-hand side, and I can't do it because when I log out, it kills my recorder. You're going to have a login thing, and there'll be two names, one inside the gray rectangle and one outside. And whichever one you want to log into, you just click on it. It pops in, the name pops into the login block, and then there's a little area in which you insert the password, and you insert the password for that account. Do not give any accounts the same password. Let's go back to SU, super user, Orange Pi, and let's change the password for root, new password. Now, remember when I changed my password, it prompted for the old password and then it asked for the new one. As root, I told you there were no rules, so it doesn't ask for the old password. It says, if you're stupid enough to be root, you better know what you're doing. I don't mean that as an insult, I'm just saying, you know, I told you there were no rules. So you type in a new password. One of the things about the password, and remember it. Don't write it down on a Post-it and put it on your monitor or put it in your inside drawer or put it wherever. Just remember it. Don't forget it. If a user forgets their password, you can do password Adams, and it will prompt you for the new password. You type it in and you give it to the user. So if they forget their password, you can change it for them. So, which is a pretty neat trick. But if you can't log in as root, and that's a issue. I have to look at it to see how you log in as root. If you if you have a login prompt and it doesn't show root, which is what the system is configured for now. Let's see how much time I've taken just for this simple example here. Whoop, 26 minutes. Okay. Well, I think that's enough for now. But no, let's do one more thing. Well, I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to do it. Now, you created your new account. Okay, I've got an account. Okay, and it's Adams, and let me do it. I can log in. I can change. Let's do a substitute user. I'm going to do a minus because I want to kind of log into a new shell as Adams. As for the password, that's a password for Adams. Okay. Now if I do an ID, I am in this current shell. Okay, running the born again shell, and I am Adams. That's the same ID you would have if you logged out as Orange Pie, relogged back into the system as Adams. So I should be, there's my home. Everything is owned by me. I can cd into C_programming. I can execute that command, hello world. I can edit the program. I can do, I'm in my home, I'm my own user. Let me go back to my home directory. Let me show you something. I'll cd back up one. Now I'm in the home home user directory for the system. If I do an ls, I see me and I see Orange Pie. Okay, I don't like Orange Pie, so I'm going to go in there and mess him up. So cd Orange Pie. Permission denied. You cannot go into somebody else's dorm room and mess things up. Not permitted. So that's part of the security. Go back to my home directory. Now, as root, let me go cdu minus. As root, there's one other command. Delete user, del user, delete user, minus, remove dash home, Orange Pie. Now I'm not going to execute this because you see what it's going to do. It's going to delete Orange Pie from the system. Okay? And it's also going to remove their home directory and everything in it. Orange Pie turned in his resignation this morning. The president came in and told me, you're the system administrator. This person is a security risk. Delete them. Now, note, This removes everything that they own. Okay, but if I do this, if I do a delete user or a NGE pi, all it does is delete the user from the password file /etc/password passwd password file so that they cannot log in. But all their projects and everything they ever worked on for the 2 days they were with the company or 25 years, it's still in the system. And you do that just in case somebody else, Susie Q, comes and joins the company and takes over where Orange Pi left off. You can give Susie Q everything that was the Orange Pi owned. That's another administrative tutorial all on its own. Now, I just showed you this. I don't want to execute it because that would be a fatal error. So exit out of that shell. I'm back to being Adams. Exit out of this, and I'm back to being Orange Pi. So I was 3 levels deep in shells. That's enough. That should blow your mind for a little while. A little over 30 minutes. Again, thank you for your time. Hope you learned something. This all will just make a lot of sense to you as you get more experienced. It's overwhelming. So stay cool. I realize the planet Earth is getting hotter, and I'm very close to the hottest place on the planet. So we live in the valley of the sun, and it feels like it. So again, thank you. And I'll get back to you with lesson number 4.